The New York Jets are likely the most exciting team heading into the 2023 NFL season. They are absolutely loaded with talent across the board, offensively and defensively. Now it's all of a matter of putting it together. If you are a New York Jets fan, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more Jets content. Now, if you look at this team, it was a tale of two different stories for the 2022 NFL season. There was a lot of ups and downs. However, there were some very, very, very clear and obvious things that were happening with this Jets team. Offensively, they were a mess. There were a lot of changes at the quarterback position. You look at from an offensive points per game perspective, they were 29th in the NFL in scoring offense. However, defensively, that was a whole different story for this team. They ranked second in points allowed on defense. They were terrific last year on that side of the ball. Today's video, we're going to be covering the New York Jets season preview, so make sure to subscribe for more content. Now, flashing back to that 2022 season, this was a season of struggles in terms of Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson had a very tough season. Now, there was a lot of different changes happening with the offense. There were some injuries that definitely hurt this team's case. However, there were some struggles from him. He did not perform as well as a lot of people thought he might in that second season, trying to make a little bit of a jump from his rookie year. However, at the end of the day, what's done is done, and he needed to grow as a player. And I think that really does come this offseason, which we're currently working through. I think having Aaron Rodgers in the room is going to help, but we will get to that in a minute. Zach Wilson had his struggles, that is obvious. However, there were some other positive lights. The defense was elite. There is nothing more that you can say than they were just phenomenal across the board. Every level of this defense performed at a high level. You look at the front seven and the secondary. This was a great cohesive unit. Robert Saleh has done a nice job implementing a culture, implementing the correct scheme for his current players. Joe Douglas has done an excellent job in terms of getting the right guys in the building to match that scheme. So a lot of credit to the front office as well as to Robert Saleh and his staff, as they've done a nice job reshaping this defense and making it look elite. Think about some of those great defenses we'd seen in the early 2010s with the New York Jets. This is another story and another rendition of a fantastic defense pioneered by one of the great defensive minds in the game in Robert Saleh. Breece Hall and his rookie campaign was tremendous. This guy was as electric as they came. Unfortunately, season-ending injury. But at the end of the day, we had seen flashes of what this Jets offense could feature next season. Breece Hall is a tremendous running back and very well could be a top 10 back his entire career for the most part. I think Breece Hall is one of those guys that is going to elevate the ceiling of this offense, as are a couple of the other players that have come in during the offseason. Now, a lot of the eyes were on Garrett Wilson during the course of the season because despite him being a first-round pick, I felt he was underrated heading into the year. Despite the quarterback changes as well, he remained productive week in and week out. He became a big fantasy target for a lot of fantasy owners, but just looking at his play on the field, this guy is one of the premier route runners in the entire NFL, and I do not say that lightly. As a rookie, he looked as polished as they come, and I think he was a big reason why they were actually able to win 7 games despite a lot of the offensive struggles. Breece Hall going down, a lot of things were actually working against the New York Jets during that time. However, they did actually exceed expectations. Believe it or not, some people were not as high. Some people didn't think that they could win 7 games last year. But at the end of the day, defensively, they really exceeded a lot of expectations. They got some great play out of their corners, which we'll get to because Sauce Gardner was tremendous. He was as good as advertised and then some. There are a lot of question marks heading into the NFL draft. Is it Derek Stingley or is it Sauce Gardner? Stingley, the better athlete. Sauce Gardner, a better frame, more polished cover corner, and they ended up being correct in their selection process. Granted, Houston was the one that was jumping ahead there and making that happen with Stingley. So the New York Jets were very happy to select a guy like Sauce Gardner. So a lot of great things in terms of building up momentum heading into this upcoming season. The 2022 year is one that they're probably going to want to forget in terms of offensively what their identity was, but there's going to be a lot of changes heading into this upcoming season. Some of the key additions. Let's first talk about Aaron Rodgers and how much and how impactful, I should say, he is to this organization. He brings a whole nother level of professionalism at the quarterback position. This guy knows how to win ball games. He's been a terrific regular season winner, and I think he is going to bring some postseason success for the New York Jets. His presence alone is huge in this organization, bringing a veteran with a lot of consistency to his game. A little bit of a down year last year. However, I think he's going to bounce back in a big way. A couple of other key additions that absolutely might move the needle here. Allen Lazard and Mecole Hardman. I don't care what you say about these two and their previous stops. I look at them as two guys that can make some big plays. Mecole Hardman, I felt, was actually underutilized in Kansas City. He should see a much bigger role here in New York. And Lazard is bringing, once again, one of Rodgers' favorite targets in his whole career, a big red zone threat, and a guy that can score 10 plus touchdowns. I feel passionately about Allen Lazard having a massive season for the Jets, and I think that's what's going to happen. Mecole Hardman is one of those guys that I feel like with a little more opportunity is going to maximize it, and his sheer speed is going to help out, potentially vertically stretch this offense. Al Woods, veteran D tackle, under the radar signing. I think he's going to be a nice depth piece for this front seven. Billy Turner at that tackle spot brings a lot of experience to this line and also some more depth. And then Quentin Jefferson as well, another defensive tackle that is going to be a very, very key role player in this defense. So getting some depth along that defensive line, specifically on the interior, was kind of the MO for the offseason for the New York Jets. And I think that's going to pay some big dividends. Now looking at the draft picks, we have Will McDonald. Now, Will McDonald is one of those players that continued to rise up draft boards, and that was for good reason. Really good athlete, a nice array of pass rushing moves, and I think this is exactly what this team needs. Another guy that's going to be able to get after the quarterback. They want to make sure that front seven stays strong. Will McDonald is one of those players that you have to look at as a really, really good scheme fit, as well as just a good selection in general in that first round. I know a lot of people weren't expecting him to go as high as he did. However, I think they are going to look very smart, especially Joe Douglas in that position. Joe Tippmann, the guard, I think is going to be a highly impactful guy on this team. I think he very well could work his way in a lot. And I think Joe Tippmann is a tremendous, tremendous guard at the position, really good run blocker. I think he is another player that Joe Douglas identified as a true trench helper. And he is a guy that has not been afraid to spend the necessary draft pick capital to take care of that interior. Carter Warren, the Pitt product, followed by another Pitt product. They were not afraid to evaluate talent at the same school and take from the same school. I think when you look holistically at what the Jets did, they did identify a couple of the depth spots that needed to be addressed, interior offensive line, and another pass rusher to go make some plays. They did a very, very nice job. And then Zaire Barnes, I feel, was a steal in that 6th round. Should be an impactful linebacker, another really good depth piece. I think things are going to continue to look up for the Jets, and they had a very solid draft. Looking at the offensive outlook here, I see a lot of playmakers across the board. This offensive line is pretty impressive in totality. Now, they have Tippmann listed as a backup center. He's going to play guard and center. I'm looking at the wide receiver room as pretty talented because you have Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, Mecole Hardman. That is a very formidable trio for Aaron Rodgers, followed by Corey Davis as your 4, which is actually a terrific, terrific depth piece. Corey Davis should have a big season. Randall Cobb, another guy that just has earned the trust of Aaron Rodgers throughout his career. And then I kind of look at the offensive line as being another massive strength. Dwayne Brown, Laken Tomlinson, Connor McGovern, Elijah Vera Tucker, Max Mitchell. This group can get the job done. I firmly believe it. It's going to be one of the better offensive line units in the entire NFL in totality. And I love what they have to offer here from that perspective. Tight end room, you have some good depth here. You have Tyler Conklin from Minnesota. Obviously that had worked out very, very well for them last year. CJ Uzama. So they did a really good job identifying that tight end spot, and they didn't have to invest a ton of capital into it. But I think they're going to get a very good amount of production. And Jeremy Ruckert, another name that we have to watch. Zach Kuntz. Good group. Really, really good group. Kenny Yeboah is going to surprise some people as well. The QB spot, you have Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson. That's huge. Tim Boyle, Chris Streveler to round it out. Running back room with Breece Hall and Michael Carter. I think Zonovan Knight might actually have a little bit more of a role than people realize. He stepped in, did a nice job last year, and I think that they very well could expand upon that. So this offense, there's no way that they are that poor or as poor as they were last season. This is going to be a huge year for this team, and I think this offense is going to be a huge difference maker. Now, defensively, they had a very good unit to begin with last year, second in the NFL in terms of points per game allowed, but they continued to add depth this past offseason. And when you look across the board with Quentin Jefferson really stepping in, Quentin Williams, two really good interior defensive linemen. John Franklin Myers and Carl Lawson at the edges. Will McDonald is going to be rotating in as well. Jermaine Johnson. They are loaded along that defensive line, and I mean loaded. You have two first-round picks that are, quote, depth guys, which I think Jermaine Johnson very well could explode this year. I really do, and Will McDonald should have a very serviceable year. That linebacking unit with Quincy Williams, C.J. Mosley, Jamie and Sherwood. This is an interesting group. I think you might see a little bit of Nasruddin as well as Chaz Surratt. Chaz Surratt was really trying to find his footing, and I think, he didn't get a fair shake in Minnesota, in my opinion. So another athletic linebacker that could make some plays. Looking at that corner spot, though, I'm looking at DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner as the two highlighted guys. They are tremendous. This is one of the best cornerback pairings we have in the NFL right now. DJ Reed really surprised some people last year, and he played super well throughout the course of the season and gets a lot of praise for it, deservingly so. Safety spots, you have Adrian Amos and Jordan Whitehead, two guys. I probably even should have put Adrian Amos in my key additions, but I think he's going to have a really, really nice year on the back end of that defense. Ashton Davis, a little bit of depth piece there, trying to find his way. Michael Carter II at that corner spot. So this is a team that defensively, they did some nice things in the offseason to kind of round out the defense. They should, once again, be at least a top 5 defense, potentially another top 2 finish once again. So the New York Jets have done all the right things in the offseason to maintain and keep their group. But I think, offensively is where you're going to see the biggest change. Now, with that change, we have to look at the record prediction. So I think there are a lot of tough games to start the season. I firmly believe that. I'm looking at Buffalo and Dallas. I really think that New England, they should win while they're at home. The Jets should take care of them. And then, Kansas City is going to be another close one. Going to Denver is always tough. Philly at home. Philly's really, really good. But in total, I did come up with 11 wins for this football team. And I think they are going to win at least one playoff game going into the postseason. I firmly believe that this is a team that, can make a really good run late. We have seen that with Aaron Rodgers-led teams towards the end of the regular season. Even if the record isn't what people had expected, he always finds a way to string together wins at the back half of the season. A lot of November, December games, he is always lights out. So I kind of look at this as a very good outcome for the Jets, having 11 wins, potentially being a wild card team. Maybe they have a chance of being a division winner. It really depends on what Buffalo and Miami shake out to be. But I think 11-6 is a very, very realistic outcome for this team. Once again, there's some tough divisional games. They play in arguably the best division in football. I mean, having Buffalo is no cakewalk. Miami continues to improve, and New England is never an easy out either. They've done some nice things during the course of the offseason, but I firmly believe that the New York Jets are going to continue to get better, and they will be in the mix for this postseason. If you do enjoy NFL content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, leave a like on today's video. I had a lot of fun recording this. Let me know what your thoughts are on this New York Jets season preview. and we will catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.